Oh, yes. We are back again.
The volume on my own laptop going off is weird. Like a delay. Like, wait. We're back. We're live.
Yeah, it's true.
Ready for action in the building.
Yeah. We said we got to do it again.
We did.
I mean, it's basically the new normal.
It's a vibe.
It is. It's a true
I think
vibe.
it's much better than doing it not in the building.
Yeah.
Like last week when we were at home, because of obviously all the stuff that was going on outside, it just wasn't the same.
No.
It wasn't. It just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right.
It was just different. I'm sure you guys felt it.
Yeah.
I hope you did. I don't know. So I guess it's up to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you're not the showrunners anyway, so we're gonna keep doing it this way.
If you are here, let us know what you think. Do you prefer at home or do you prefer here? I mean, I'm hoping that would get an overwhelming victory for here in the building.
100%.
You never know. But let us know. And also, let us know your afternoon's been. What have you been doing for this?
The Platty Jubes, as they're calling it. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that acronym. Or like whatever shortened version of it. It just flies off the tongue a bit weird for me, but that's what it is. So let them know, mate. How's your Platty Jubes been?
My Platty Jubes. I think it's been fairly quiet, to be honest. Like I'm classically a royalist.
You are, that's true.
I do love the Royals, but over the last couple of years, I think increasingly I've become less and less royalist and more Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, you know what I mean? Now that is a very interesting topic, isn't it?
So like, I feel like I used to just be like Royals, love them. I see the benefit of them, all this kind of stuff. But now I'm like, once the Queen dies, I'm just not sure. We could get deep, but I'm not going to get in that deep about Charles and all this kind of stuff. But I'm just not.
Yeah, we won't. We won't.
I'm not feeling the same thing from Charles that I feel from Queen Elizabeth. And I think the more that time goes on, and the more, she's getting old and all this kind of stuff. And as the time goes on, I feel like I'm falling less and less in love because I'm more focusing on the fact that she's going to be gone and someone else is going to be there. And I'm not convinced by it. So it's been quite quiet, and I think I've stayed away from the festivities. I know we watched last night. We watched the concert.
Yeah. I didn't even think we'd watch the whole thing, and we
did. We did. What do you think of that concert?
I mean, look, as from an organisational standpoint, it wasn't. No. I wouldn't say it was a well planned out event. So it was strange because the artists who were booked, I would say, they weren't the sort of artists I'd be like, we are going to celebrate the longest running monarch in the country's history. With like, I'm not going to name names, but the names that were there, at the beginning, do you know what I mean? And then you had some of like the more classic people that you were expecting. Maybe some that we were like, oh, it would be like, there was one, Paul McCartney sent a video in. Yeah. And like, we were all sat there being like, Paul, you've got a drum kit behind you. You look like you're ready to go. Like, we could just whack some Beatles songs, do some of your own stuff. Anyway, he didn't do anything. But I just thought it was weird because they basically planned it to be like energetic at the start. Yeah. And then it just continually became more and more somber as we went on. Yeah. And like the last Diana Ross song was kind of like a bit more upbeat. Yeah. But I would have expected an ascending So if it was me in charge, I'd have had the beginning be like some of the bigger British acts of the last 15 years. And then I'd have had some of the bigger ones of the 15 years before that. Yeah. And like, this is literally what I'm saying. You're only allowed to do your bangers. Do you know what I mean? Like we're saying thank you to the longest serving monarch. Yeah. This has to be like a celebration of, because that's what it is. It kind of also felt like a pre-death thing. Do you know what I mean? Jeez. It was just like everyone like summing up her life. I was just like, yeah, she's it's not unreasonable to think that she's not going to be here that long.
We're not going to have. I don't think in 10 years' time we're going to have another Platty Jubes. I mean, we won't be Platty Jubes, will it? It'll be whatever
the next thing.
Whatever next after Platty is. But
that's true.
I just agree. I think that the concert. I was like, is this the best of British?
No, it wasn't. Come on. We know.
This is what I mean. No, this is what I mean. I don't. Like, I was thinking of artists. Do you know what I mean? Like, even just get someone like Ed Sheeran. Do you know what I mean? Like, why was he not there? It just didn't. It was just some weird artist. And then I felt like the second to last artist was.
Who was that? What was that?
I don't even want to name names because I'm going to say something bad. But basically, it was like this DJ and then some lady. And they had all the drones in the sky. It was really, really cool. And it was like coming to the climax of the evening. And like, I've not heard a song from her in like 5-6 years. Do you know what I mean? It just felt like, why are you at this point? Like, if she was at the start, I would have been like, fair play. But I don't know. It was a weird order. There was weird artists, and I don't know. If I was the Queen, and I've literally done an absolute like this much work.
She was not watching that. Do you reckon she was watching?
No, was she?
Because I was like, other than the corgi. Like the corgi thing, the horse thing, like those cool lights that they did.
Yeah.
And maybe like the conservationist stuff because she is quite big into all things green and gardening and like preserving all that. I was like, if someone threw this party for me, I'd be gone. I'd be asleep.
Yeah.
I'd be like, thank you so much, appreciate it, but I'm done.
But the things are, who'd you put on for the Queen? Who? Like, when I think of the Queen, I do not think of any music artist at all. Like, just nothing. Like, there's nothing.
That's I would have. So what I would do? You've got to say, because obviously you get told ages in advance. I'd assume you have at least 8 months, maybe. Probably a lot. I'm trying to be, but you have a lot of time. So what I would have done is spend that first 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And find out, like, what does the Queen like?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If there's any music she likes, what does she like?
Yeah.
And then I would splice, because most of it, I would assume, especially recently, she's probably not whacking on, Dua Lipa in the car going to going to see the Derby. But I would have spliced in stuff that she likes with, like, big artists. Obviously, you got scheduling conflicts and all that. But even if it's not big artists, it's got to be up tempo.
Yeah.
Even like when Craig David was on, I was like, no, I don't know. I felt like Craig David was like, you're at a party and then someone like changes the playlist and everyone's kind of like stood around like, oh, it's cool, but can we get back to the thing? So, yeah. But I think. It was the Diana Ross thing saved it for me.
Yeah, that was.
And obviously, she ended with like getting everyone to say thank you. I thought that was nice.
That was a nice ending. I think as a whole, I quite like the Jubilee stuff because I quite like the pomp a little bit. I do. I know a lot of people don't.
You're a
like
pomp
it.
fan.
I do like the pomp when it comes to it, and like the parades and things, because I just think they're just well done. It's not just a couple of people marching down a street. It's very well done. And like I remember the one 10 years ago. I even remember the one 20 years ago. I was in primary school. We all set off balloons at like the same time. Everyone in the primary school had a helium balloon. And they had like a little tag on it, and then they set them off. And obviously the wind just took them here, there, everywhere.
Yeah.
And then like you had to send people, if you found the balloon, you had to send back in the tag. And if someone sends the furthest balloon, basically got prizes. And like some of them went to some mad places all over Europe and stuff like that.
How would they know where it lands? It's got a thing on it.
Yeah, it's just got like a tag that basically says your name, what country you're from, whatever else, and then post it back to Radcliffe Hall Primary School in Bury. Do you know what I mean? That kind of
fair play. So that's not a bad idea.
I quite like it. I quite like the Jubilee stuff. So let us know what you did. Did you do anything interesting?
Let us know. Did you have a street party?
Yeah.
We drove past one. It was like this black community. And they look like they're having the most fun. Do you know what I mean? Like, they said, hey, we're having a party. They had a barbecue. They had a bunch of meat. They had the music going. People were dancing. I almost put over. I'm not going to lie. Almost pulled over. I said, That's the party I want to go to.
I know Marilyn. Obviously, I've seen Marilyn in the comments. I think I saw some on Facebook that she went to a street party. So let us know who it was. I mean, like me and Mum, see, she's in the comments as well. Like, there was nothing around us. Well, nothing that I could...
Was there not? I would have thought your street would have been up for it. Maybe no one...
I don't know. I thought... But I didn't hear anything in our area, really, at all. Like, anywhere sort of around, which is kind of weird. When I went towards yours, I saw a couple, like, dotted around, but nothing near us.
Yeah, I mean, one of our neighbours got Union Jack covers for their mirrors, so...
What?
For their car mirrors.
Oh.
They got Union Jack covers to put over them. So I was expecting a lot. I didn't hear much, but you know.
I think it's nice though, because no one really talks about the Queen and does anything with the Queen. But then, like 10 years, everyone kind of does a big thing. Oh, Marilyn, I went to a friend's street party. It was good. Didn't even need to gate crash. Was invited.
Yeah, nice. I want to know, was gate crashing an option? Like, if you heard it was going on, would you have been like, hey, do you know what? Let's bring the Marilyn to this party.
Some of them looked all right, like barbecues, bringing share cavity. It's class. It was class. I mean, so let us know what you did. Even if you're listening later on, if you did nothing, let us know. 2 days off.
Maybe you're in America. I think it was Memorial Day, somewhere around the same amount of time, sometime last week.
Yeah. So
for any American listeners, how was your Memorial Day or weekend or wherever it is?
Yeah.
Wherever you're remembering, I don't know.
I'd be quite interested to see how other countries viewed it. Like, did they have all the stuff on telly like we did?
Oh, yeah.
There some nations that, like some of the Commonwealth nations, maybe did they do special stuff as well? I'd be quite interested to see that. So if you've got any access to that,
yeah, maybe because they did ask it like whenever they'd be interviewing someone from a different country.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are putting on a bit much because they'd be like, so how does Poland feel about the Queen? And it's just like this guy and his 2 friends being like, yeah, Poland likes the Queen. I don't know. Yeah. I've got no idea.
Yeah, I was listening to on the radio this morning, someone in France talking about it, and then it ended up getting to like, oh, Macron and Boris don't get along. I was like, it's the Queen. Why are we going to there? Just leave that. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about the Queenie. But anyway, time is getting on. We filled a bit of time with that, to be honest. Platitubes is big though.
Hey, it's a historical moment. In fairness, like whenever I'd get bored, I'd just think this. Like we'll tell our kids about this, and so
it's cool.
I have to at least like remember something.
It's cool that we live through it. Like because it is a big deal. Like the longest running market British history. Like
we're starting to get quite a few things under our belt, you know.
Like what? Like what else?
Like obviously we've lived through the millennium.
Yeah.
You had the early noughties, which was like terror stuff happening.
Yeah.
And then you had kind of, I don't really remember much of what happened in the world during my high school age. But then you had like Brexit.
Financial crash.
Oh yeah, obviously you had the financial crash, yeah. Then you've got like Brexit vote. And then you have like a few other terror things.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have the pandemic. And then you have like the war.
Yeah.
And then like Platitubes. So
wow.
I wonder what else is coming in store.
Yeah, I'm only 25 and that's all that's happened so far. Right, jeez. Well, anyway. Let's dive in to what we're talking about. I was tempted. So like this morning I was leaving the meeting. I'll say this last thing I said, Platitubes. I was leaving the meeting this morning and I was tempted to do the cheesy kind of thing of like, we're celebrating the Queen this weekend, but this morning we're celebrating the truth.
Oh yeah,
cheesy like that.
Oh, you should have.
I should have.
I did think of that as well. I was like, this is the prime. It's the prime moment for like a nice little. Church twist on there.
Yeah.
Although it is Pentecost, I believe, right?
Yeah, it is.
So
actually,
happy Pentecost for. I mean, we don't really celebrate Pentecost,
do we?
Don't really have to, but we got the Holy Spirit within us, so that is I guess that's a Pentecost celebration.
Yeah. It's been a great weekend, to be honest. Pentecost celebration, Platitubes.
Yeah.
And what do you want?
I don't know what people do for Pentecost. Like,
neither do I.
For those who celebrate it. So if anyone knows, in the comments, let us know what's like a Pentecostal celebration. And I don't mean like the denomination. I mean the day of Pentecost.
Yeah, weird. Anyway, diving in. We'll dive in now. It's been 15 minutes already. but we'll dive in. And today, so obviously the last couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, we looked at Jesus is Lord, what it means that Jesus is Lord.
Good.
Last week, Juan took us through Revelation chapter 4, and that was class. He also did like a little bite-sized version this morning, which was good as well.
Bite-sized version. So, hey, you never know where the word's going to come.
Exactly.
Might come in different places, might come from the same places.
Yeah. That's why you should listen to the podcast every week, because you never know. What you get in bite-sized might be unpacked a lot in the podcast. Yeah. But anyway, I thought on the same lines, on the similar things, I thought we'd look at one of my favourite stories in the Bible and kind of unpack it a little bit and kind of see what
one
we can...
One of your favourites?
It is. It's
can you rank it, or it's unrankable?
I don't know. I don't like ranking because I always think of something else. Like after the podcast, I'm like, what about this story? I'd definitely say it's in top 10 stories.
10.
Top 10 stories.
All right.
Yeah. Whether it breaks into the top 5, I'd have to have a real
We'll
thing.
see.
It's close. I think it flirts with the line of top 5. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's in Luke chapter 7. And I'm going to read just the whole shebang, and then we'll kind of dig into it a little bit. So Luke chapter 7, 36 to 50. If you've got a Bible, whip it open. We'll read it together. I think this is NIV or NLT or ESV. I don't really know.
It was something new.
Yeah. I'll say it's either NLT. I think it's NIV actually. It says, when one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at table. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house, so she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume.
Great song.
Which one?
Alabaster. Well, it's technically Alabaster Heart.
Oh, yeah. That's a good tune, actually. I heard that in ages. I'm going to add that to my playlist when I go home. Good suggestion. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. When the Pharisees who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. Jesus answered, Simon, I have something to tell you. Tell me, teacher, he said. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed 500 denarii, the other one 50. Neither of them had the money to pay it back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now which one will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven. You judge correctly, Jesus said. Then he turned towards the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman, from the time I entered, has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her sins have been forgiven. Her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. That's an important factor.
Sorry, it's just funny that was the part that he stumbled on. I was like, hang on, correction. She did many things wrong.
Many sins have been forgiven, as a great love is shown. But whoever has forgiven little loves little. Then Jesus said to her, your sins are forgiven. And the other guests began to say amongst themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? And Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace.
Nice.
Top tier story. One of my faves. I don't know. Give us something. Give us some juice. What do you think of the story? Is it in your top 10 now?
It's not in my top 10.
Oh, controversial.
I don't know if it is controversial. It's not in my top 10. There's a lot of epic stories in there.
That's true. I'll let you
But I think Jesus is such an interesting person, you know.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at... obviously, we know the Pharisees were like the... They were effectively what the Christians are today.
Yeah.
Back in their day. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're the main religious organization, in quotation marks. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say. And obviously, someone comes and does something very uncouth.
Yeah. Good words.
If you don't know what that means, that's okay. Uncouth is kind of just like, it's not the thing that you should do at this moment. It's not the proper thing for you to do if you're a dignified person.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing this. Obviously, someone makes an issue about the value of the thing.
Yeah.
But what she's doing is quite I think if someone did a modern day equivalent of this, people would be really on edge. And Jesus is just like, he not only uses her as an example, but even in the way he describes it, he's like, she kissed my feet, you didn't kiss my feet. Even just that language, like a lot of Christians would be like, they shudder from the idea of that kind of intimacy of relationship with Jesus. Obviously, you have the song "He Loves," which went through a huge amount of controversy because people are like, "Heaven doesn't meet earth like a sloppy wet kiss." How can you say sloppy wet kiss? You got to change it to unforeseen. Which to me, that sounds even worse. Like unforeseen kisses in 2022 isn't a great vibe. Do you know what I mean? But I think there is an element of that intimacy, and obviously that kiss that she gave Jesus wasn't romantic. But I think Jesus was highlighting how intimate of a thing she was doing, and how real of a thing it is. And for me, it's a challenging thing of like, how real are you willing to get with Jesus? Or are you kind of cognizant of people you're around? Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that if I express my worship to Jesus in the way that I feel like I need to, someone's going to be like, oh, look at them trying hard. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly,
oh, you don't need to cry. Like, do we need to cry? Like, do you need to do whatever the thing is? We know that they're like, we have those thoughts when we see someone do something outside of our frame of reference. And I love that this story is here to be like, Jesus supports the out of reference worship because he sees the heart and he knows that it's genuine worship.
Exactly.
So I think it's such a, that for me, just as you're reading it, I was like, I've never really thought of it that way of thinking of what she actually did and the fact that Jesus fully embraced that. And it's like, you had the option of doing that. You could have had a train, you could have tied a line, do you know what I mean? All of you could have had to go, but she's the only one who did it. I love it. What about you?
It's amazing. I think you know, it's just it's an incredible story, and when you start to really break it down, unpack each sort of segment of the events that took place, you really start to see the effect that this woman's worship and what she actually did had on the rest of the thing. So you see from the start, you know, that Jesus is invited to have dinner with one of these Pharisees. And obviously, this is a bit like, obviously this is a bit weird, I always think, because the Pharisees are always like beefing with Jesus. They're always like asking him questions, trying to catch him out. You know, certain aspects you read that, you know, and after he says something, or after he, you know, they ask him a question, he responds. It says, "Oh, the Pharisees, they were plotting to do this and that and the other." So I'm like, why are you inviting him to your house? Like, there's obviously,
it is odd, isn't it?
And I think almost like it may be like a status thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, of like, this guy's causing a lot of waves, and he's going to be in my house. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of thing. And it almost seems like everyone is kind of very, I don't know how to word it, but maybe like chilled out about Jesus. Like, because obviously they don't truly see who Jesus is, like this woman does. But they just kind of treat him as if he was just like another fella here on the podcast. Like, it's just like, you're just there. Like, you contribute.
He's not even a special guest. Like, he's just here.
He's just there. You know what I mean?
You're at table.
I always find that weird as well. It's like, you recline at table. Why not at the table?
Hey, let's bring back at table.
But like, I find that very, so obviously, you know, there's an invitation that takes place. There's a time and a place where Jesus comes to this place to have this meal, and everyone else in this room is obviously very relaxed about the fact that Jesus is there. They're just enjoying the pie. There's some scran. Obviously, there's some nice drinks as well. You know, everyone's probably dressed nice. There's probably a good vibe. There's probably some music in the background. Nice, kind of soft, maybe a jazz band. I don't know. Something just
nice little 3-piece.
Maybe. But then ultimately, the whole pie gets crashed by this woman. Now, obviously, this woman is not invited to this pie.
No, she's not.
The fact that this woman who lived a sinful life. I think, you know, if you read around it or whatever else, you see that she's actually a prostitute. And like, prostitutes and Pharisees, like, they don't, you know, they're not pals.
They may start with the same letter, but that's where the similarities end. Just because we're both peas, we are not friends. That's probably what
That's pretty good. I'm going to use that.
Cheers, mate.
That's
straight off the top of the dome, mate.
Well, there you go. That's what you get on the podcast.
Yeah, you get the fresh manna from heaven here.
Come on. But obviously she's not invited to this party, but there's something about Jesus that provokes her to kind of go, I don't care what's going on. I don't care who's in this party. I don't care whose party it is or whose house it is. I'm just going to beeline for it. So obviously
that's a good point, actually. Like, if you think about, in any other situation, a Pharisee's, not just like going to a Pharisee's house, he's just having dinner with his family.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to a Pharisee's house where it's a Pharisee party. Do you know what I mean? Like, they are Phariseeing.
Yeah.
And you know that. You already know they're super judgy people.
Yeah.
And so I would think, like, it would take a high level of motivation, in it, to bring her to that place of saying,
oh, yeah.
Even though I know I'm going to get ridiculed, this Jesus guy is worth too much.
Yeah. And I like to think, and this is just me romanticizing now, but like I like to think that, because like, if you read earlier on the chapter or the chapter before, it's where like this woman it's like a funeral procession, and like this woman, her son's dying. I think it's like her only son, and she's got no other. Her husband's dead as well. She's got no other kids and whatever. And then Jesus, and because obviously this is her only son, now her family line basically just ends.
Yeah.
Jesus resurrects him, and I like to think that like this she sees that take place, and she maybe knows the family or whatever else, and like she's just captivated by this man who's just got so much compassion and whatever else, and that's what sort of provokes something in her heart to say, I just need to get to this guy. I don't care if there's a bouncer at the door. I don't care how many people try and stop me, what people think about me. I'm just going to make a beeline for this guy.
100%.
It wasn't like I'm going to dress up as a Pharisee and kind of just waltz in and, kind of have a few drinks, maybe mingle a little bit and then slowly make my way to Jesus. It was literally just run in, run for the guy, get down on his feet. Didn't even say a word to him as well. Like, it's not like, oh, hi, Jesus, my name is... We don't know.
Yeah, she doesn't propose. Like, it's like, by the way, I'm a prostitute.
Yeah.
Sorry for crashing, but I have some really expensive perfume, and I just thought your feet might. No, none of that.
It was nothing like you could say probably dignified about it. Do you know what I mean? You can't do that to the Queen. It's platitudes. You can't do that to the Queen. You can't just beeline for her feet and just pour something on her feet and start kissing her feet. It's not dignified. It wouldn't be right. It's not. But then with Jesus, she's just like, I don't care. Like, I've seen something of this guy. I've seen what he's done. I've seen how he's helped people. I've seen how he's got compassion. I've seen how he's healed people. I've seen how he's doing this, that, and the other that he's taught. So I am just going to go for this guy. And I just love the fact that she just crashes this party and she's just not bothered. She just doesn't care.
Yeah.
And like...
Even like after she's been ridiculed, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't try and defend herself and say, hang on. Like, I'm not here for you lot. Yeah. I'm here for Jesus. She's just like, you guys don't even matter at this point because Jesus is here. Like, that's the only thing that I'm going to focus on.
And I think I think it's challenging when you're reading that and you're thinking about it and what she's actually doing there to kind of say, like, what am I holding back in any way or whatever? Or am I just, if the crowd are going for it, I'll go for it. But if the crowd aren't going for it or the congregation aren't going for it, I'm just going to kind of just clap along and things like this. I don't want to look like the weird guy. I remember that actually once. I remember we had a big.
Oh, let's go.
I remember having it was when we were both in youth. We had like we used to do this like sleepovers, and we used to just play Call of Duty all night and stuff like that.
We did. Epic.
It was good times. And I remember one time we were chatting, and we were chatting about one person in particular. I'm not going to mention names. But like they used to always go for it in worship. Like they just didn't care at all. Like they were just like all over the place, just jumping.
Oh yes, you've refreshed my memory.
Yeah. And I remember saying to everyone, I was just like, I did not want to be that guy. I remember saying that. I'm being honest. I was like, I do not want to be that guy. I don't want to, because like he used to look a bit silly because he couldn't really dance.
It's true.
He couldn't. But like I was just like, I do not want to be that guy. I do not want to look silly. I don't want to look stupid. Whatever else. You know what I mean? I was just like, I don't want to be that guy. But like now, I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I can't really dance anyway. I know Mum says I can dance all the time. She tells it.
Oh, that's good.
No, she's saying this. She was saying this last week. You know, Anna's parents came up, right? They joined on the Friday to check out the building, whatever, for the wedding. And And then Mum was telling them that I could dance. And I was like, Mum, I can't dance. Don't embarrass me like this. But now everyone's...
I'm gonna have to ask her, what has she seen that's given her such confidence
I think it was because back in the day, you used to love the film Step Ups, the Step Up film.
Oh, yeah.
So you used to kind of just, dance onto that. I think she just thought... Anyway, that's the difference.
Yo, Hannah, if you have footage, we're going to need that.
There is no footage,
please.
There's no footage.
We're going to need it.
If there is footage, it will be deleted by the end of tonight. But, ultimately, I remember saying, I do not want to be that guy. I don't want to be... And ultimately, I'm saying, I don't want to be this woman. I don't want to kind of just no matter what everyone's saying, no matter what's going on around me in my environment, I'm just going to kind of... I was basically saying, I want to just follow what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
If it's chill, I'm going to be chill. If it's a bit upbeat, I may be a little bit upbeat, but I'm going to kind of keep still a bit chill.
I still won't go.
I still won't go the whole way. But ultimately, for us, we need to kind of let that go.
Yeah.
And also, when we're talking about worshiping the Lord, and when we're talking about sort of, we were talking last week of why Jesus is worthy of worship, and we looked at obviously Revelation and things like this. It's it causes you to kind of say, I need to sit back and just check myself before I wreck myself. Do you know what I mean? Am I just following what's going on, or am I being like this woman, just saying, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered. I'm just gonna go for it no matter what. And I think ultimately we've seen that even sort of in the past couple of weeks, when the Brazilian guys were here, they just didn't care. Do you know what I mean? They were just like, I'm new to this country. I'm new. I've only been here 24 hours or whatever at that point. I'm just going to just go for it because he is worthy of worship. And it's kind of provoking in your heart a little bit. It's kind of just ask yourself. It's like what I said all the time. I'm saying a lot recently. They were stock intake. Take inventory of yourself. Is this a reality in my life? Am I just following what's going on, or am I, when the drums are going and oh come on, am I jumping around, or am I truly just following the hype or the what everyone else doing, or am I just digging it? Go on, talk about that a little bit.
It's a very David thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think here's the leader of your very victorious nation.
Yeah.
He's at the apex of his career, you could say, and he effectively strips down to what people would have considered then his underwear. That's effectively what his wife thought. You're not garbed the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you're making a fool of yourself in how you're expressing to God.
Yeah.
And I think that's a constant... I don't know if it's because of the British culture as well.
Yeah.
The British culture isn't a particularly expressive one. And so it's very normal to be in a gathering.
Yeah.
And maybe the most you might express yourself is a clap.
Yeah.
Or there's certain ones where it might be a gig.
Yeah.
Or a comedy show where you're a little bit more expressive. Yeah. But Brits are known as not being very expressive.
Yeah.
So there's that added challenge of you're not just going against whatever's in your head maybe stopping you.
Yeah.
You're also fighting against the cultural norm of we don't do that here. But again, that's why this is the perfect story, because she's entering a space and does the opposite of what the norm is for whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a twofold challenge. Like you're saying, it's a challenge to the worshipper.
Yeah.
Of are you willing to worship Jesus in what's the right way for you?
Yeah.
But may be perceived by others as the wrong way.
Yeah.
But also, it's a challenge of, if you're part of the congregation, are you willing to allow people the space to worship Jesus the way that they have to worship? I think, for me personally, God's just resetting how I view and how I, what parameters I put around what worshiping God looks like and feels like. And it's all based, it's I'm a bit like Play-Doh at the moment. I'm just my only focus is, how do we host the presence of God to the level of which we see what he's promised us. And so I think this is a really good example of a group of people who they have a really set way of how they experience worship, gratitude, and someone is coming who's doing something they don't only think is improper, but they think is wasteful. Do you know what I mean? Like there's multiple layers.
Yeah.
And I think for what God is going to be doing, we have to be open to say someone may come into the meeting and they may express something of themselves to God in a way that like jars everyone else.
Yeah.
And we need to be people who I don't know what the right way to say it is. Do you know what I mean? But like to support the heart of worship, and not like not try and like, do you know what I mean? Like stewards rush over and like everyone's like, and then people turn in and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. I think the more that we focus on appreciating Jesus, and then allow people to appreciate Jesus, the less concerned we are with stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting one because I don't know if it's ever like a tick.
Yeah.
Because at whatever point you're at, you're gonna end up getting comfortable in what your thing looks like.
Yeah.
And once something comes into there and like doesn't look like what you're used to, you start freaking out like, what the heck? That's not what we do. Yeah. Like this isn't like you need to go to the other place down the road or whatever. But I think that God's gonna, especially based off what's happened in the last 2 years and like really the last 5 years, I guess you could say. Yeah. I think people are gonna come, and when they meet the presence of God, they themselves may not even really understand why they're reacting the way they're reacting, or how, or like, you know what I mean? They may not be so cognizant of it because it's going to be such a raw thing for them of like, I've just got to do what I've got to do because this is Jesus. Like as we looked at this morning, he's the one seated on the throne, and like when you see that, like you have the response can be quite visceral, isn't it? So that I think for me that's the challenge of I would hope that we are and continue to become a place where this, like someone expressing themselves in that way, isn't like we wouldn't be the ones that Jesus is reprimanding. Like you wouldn't want that in it. Like you would think like, oh, we're here to worship Jesus, blah blah blah, and then Jesus is looking at you like, well, you're actually stopping people from worshiping. Like that's to me that's a borderline nightmare scenario.
Yeah, that's good. But we start to see, as she's making this beeline, what she does, obviously what you were saying earlier, that is kind of it's very intimate, and it's very, I mean, like for our standards, like for what we do and how we express ourselves, especially as British culture, if someone started just kissing your feet and like crying,
that's weird.
And all this, is it weird? And like ultimately, it is this beautiful kind of intimate, worship and offering that she's brought to the Lord.
Yeah.
But we see the response of what takes place. Because the Pharisee, the Simon, this is Simon. This is the guy who's organized the party. This is the guy who's invited Jesus along.
Yeah.
He says to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, for she is a sinner.
Yeah.
And like ultimately, what I think is like Simon chooses to judge Jesus and the woman. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, he does. He does. He says, "I'm judging all of you right now."
He's just going for everyone. He's not just like, this woman, she's a sinner. Why are you letting her do it? He's like, if this man were a prophet.
Yeah.
He's like,
it's almost like in his view, like her status is so below him.
Yeah.
Like he's not gonna judge. Like Jesus is more at his level. Do you know what I mean? So he's like, I'm gonna judge Jesus, and by proxy, I'm gonna judge her as well.
It's wild. It's wild. The fact, but what I find so interesting about this is not the fact that he, all that judging and whatever else is whatever. But this woman, she's just come to bring an offering to the Lord, to just worship the Lord. She's not bothered about anything else, as we said earlier. She's not bothered about the culture. She's not bothered about the people or anything like that. She's just like, I just want to worship the Lord.
Yeah.
But it provokes something within his heart, and I guarantee that everybody else in that room was thinking similar things.
Oh yeah.
Was the music that was playing, they've stopped. They're not. The 3-piece jazz band, they've stopped. No, dude, people aren't eating anymore. It's not just this little thing that's going on in the corner. I can guarantee, like, the way I see this, like, this table's in the middle of the room, and she's doing something that's so different that the whole room is just like stopped, staring, looking, and saying the similar things. That is provoking something within inside this whole party. And that was never her agenda, and that was never her plan. She just wanted to get close to Jesus. And as she got close to Jesus and worshipped him, it affected the whole room, and it affected the environment and the atmosphere around it. And ultimately, you know, I think that's just such an amazing thing, you know, as you kind of come to worship. We looked at it, obviously, with last week and this morning as well. You talk about Revelation and how these living creatures, they say, holy, holy, holy. And then we start to see the ripple effect of, like, the zooming out of the elders who cast their crowns as, like, oh, like, this guy is worthy of worship and whatever else. And like, ultimately, for us, when we come to worship, how we worship, the way we worship, whatever that looks like, it can have that ripple effect on everybody else, and it can provoke other people. And it can expose things about people.
100%,
And you know, I obviously with Simon, I don't know about anyone else in the party who's thinking different things, but ultimately, some of them might have never really thought about, like, consciously thought about, oh, I'm better than this woman or whatever else. But ultimately, something that she's done has provoked something within inside their heart. Her exposure to just worship Jesus freely without any boundaries or any barriers has exposed something within inside them. That's making them question and say...
because he says it because something in him says, like, I would never worship Jesus in this way, so why is this... Do you know what I mean? Something about him was, like you're saying, felt... like, oh, this isn't something I would do. And so his instinct was then to degrade the thing rather than to admire the standard that she was setting there, isn't it?
And I think ultimately for us, and I think it goes back to some of the stuff that we've been speaking about and some of the stuff I've been thinking about, you know, in terms of worship, is that we can, like, ultimately when I come to a meeting and when I come to whether that's a Sunday, whether that's a Thursday, whether that's a whatever meeting that may be, I've got to come with my eyes focused on him. And even if the whole room isn't bothered, I've got to be bothered. And because I know that Jesus is worthy of worship, and I'm coming in faith knowing that whatever I do, that it's going to have that ripple effect on people. And, you know, ultimately, I've seen this a million times where the meeting is just a bit slow, it's a bit...
It needs, you know... It
just needs something, and somebody does something, someone says something, somebody whatever, and then the whole room just changes. Because that worship, as they come and just say, do you know what, I don't care what's going on now, I'm just going to come and just give to the Lord. As you do that, Lord kind of just goes, great, I'm going to pour something out here.
He's literally like, I've been waiting. I'm like, you know, you guys are doing a good thing, but this is the expression of worship that I've been waiting for, isn't it?
Exactly. And like and it has this crazy ripple effect. And ultimately we there's this like parable in the middle of it. It's a bit weird, to be honest. I don't really know much about it. But ultimately, after he says this, and after, you know, he speaks to Simon about this parable, you know, it's exactly what you said. He says, I came into your house and you did not give me any water for my feet, but she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You know, you gave me no kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. And, you know, you did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. And like, ultimately what Jesus is saying to Simon here is like, I would have received that worship from you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying.
If you did those things, I would have gladly received that from you.
Yeah.
And like, it's crazy thing. Like, ultimately, like, for me, I don't know what he's thinking now, because obviously we don't really see much after this. But if I'm him, I'm like, oh,
I know, Jesus.
I've missed out.
Jesus has fully called you out there.
Like, you've been fully mugged off, and I'd be like, I've just missed an opportunity there. I've missed an opportunity to come just to worship the Lord and be in His presence and just to be present with Him, and not just kind of have Him as just a guest at a party. And ultimately, I feel like that's what a lot of times church can become, or meetings can become. It's just like, we sing a few songs, we have a nice encouraging preach, but then Jesus is just the guest there. He's just kind of like, oh yeah, it's like a birthday party. Like, oh yeah, he's here. Oh yeah, great. We worship you. We'll sing some songs to you. We'll kind of have a preach about you, but then we'll just go home. But ultimately, this woman does something different to shift the atmosphere, and it has this ripple effect to the point where Jesus is like, I would have gladly received this from any of you, but you did not do it. Anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, there's a few things to because there's a lot in this, so you can keep going for it.
I'll say one more. I'll say one more thing after this.
But I like so. For example, like verse 46, he says, "You did not put oil on my head, but she's poured perfume on my feet."
Yeah.
And I like the fact that to Jesus, it's not about where you are.
Yeah.
So for her, the best she could do is reach his feet.
Yeah.
But Jesus knows, Simon, you could reach my head.
Yeah.
And so Jesus' expectation isn't you worship me based off someone else's access. Jesus' expectation is you worship me based off your access. So if all someone can do in a meeting is like raise their hands, that's not for me to judge them being like, can't believe they're raising their hands but not singing. And like, I'm telling you, as someone who leads worship, I see people a lot. Yeah. Like you have to work hard to not judge how you think people are worshiping.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, sometimes you can tell like someone's just fully disengaged, but at the same time, I think there can be that thing of like, oh, you're not doing it right. I mean, you're not worshiping Jesus, but Jesus is. His only question is going to be, did you worship me in your fullness? Do you know what I mean? Like, this person, all they could do in this moment was hold their hand up. But you could have been jumping. Yeah. You could have been singing in tongues or whatever. Yeah. You could have brought the word that I gave you that you're like, oh, I can't bother today. Like, whatever the thing is, like, Jesus is only focused on what is our heart, and he's like, and he's so. The good thing is he's really consistent, because he always says this whenever there's like a comparison thing. Like I think that's part of why he says even this parable, like one person of 500 denarii, the other person of 50. Yeah. He's like, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter how much debt you're in. I'm forgiving all of it. So don't judge someone. Like if you're the one with 50 debt. Yeah. And someone else comes in with 500 debt, don't think like, oh, Jesus, like, am I going to get an advance on the 450 that I didn't get in debt on? Like, that's not how it works. Like, your debt's forgiven, just be happy about that. Yeah. And then the other thing that I really like is, which kind of we've talked through the last few weeks, is like so obviously she comes in and all we know of her motivation is, I need to worship Jesus and show Jesus that I think he's valuable. Yeah. And the end result is that her sins get forgiven. Yeah. And I love that because it takes the focus off, I need to come to Jesus because I've got a problem. Yeah. And she would have been aware of her sin. She probably knew that she needed forgiveness. Yeah. But she didn't come to Jesus and ask for forgiveness. Like, she wasn't expressing it as, I need forgiveness. And there's definitely a place for the expression part. But I think a lot of, like, there's so much of that happens as a response of our thanks to Jesus. Yeah. And I think that there are a lot of things where, like, the deliverance for certain things, whether that or provision or whatever it looks like, is locked up in our gratitude and whether we are actually fully thankful to God. Yeah. Because he, as a response to that, he will respond to us. And because he knows our hearts, we know, he already knows, he knew, like, even though Simon's like, oh, if he was a prophet, he would know. Like, Jesus knew, he knew even before she walked in that, like, this was going to happen. And I just love that you can, if you approach him in a way that's only focused on him, that's enough for you to know that you'll be taken care of. Yeah. Rather than like, oh, I'm on death's door. Yeah. And like, this is horrible. That could be true. Yeah. But Jesus is so good that if you come to him and focus only on him, it's that whole thing, seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added. Like, it's true, but it's a really tough thing to live because the other things that will be added, like, If they're being added, it means there's a deficit. Probably, anyway, I don't know. So that, like, we can sometimes be really convinced on this is the deficit I have and focus on how do I add these things, whereas Jesus is like, just seek first the kingdom and I'll sort out the other stuff. And it's interesting with the word he's given the church, he's not told us to do stuff. None of the stuff he's asked us to do is about us. So he's asked us to worship him, appreciate him. And then he's asked us to intercede, which is to pray on behalf of other people or other situations or whatever. And then all this other stuff will happen. None of it is concerned with us whatsoever. So to me, in my head, I'm kind of like, although it does matter, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it also doesn't matter. Because if I do those two things, the other thing will happen. And God is so good that he'll take care of the rest. You know what I mean? Like even today, in the meeting, we were focused on appreciating Jesus. And Jesus spoke to people in specific situations. But we don't have to say, like, at the beginning of the meeting, today we're going to focus on X situation. Because the Holy Spirit knows what's going on in the church. And so he's going to speak to that. And I've heard from, I won't say names, but I've heard from people who preach that sometimes they'll say something and someone will come to them saying, oh, did you target me? Is it because you knew that such and such was happening? And it's like, no, I just preached. You know what I mean? Like the Holy Spirit can do more than sometimes we think. And I just love that he's that reliable that you don't even have to ask. But he still says you can, but you don't have to, and he can still sort everything out.
And I think that's the amazing thing about this story in particular is she's not even said a word once.
No, that's fine.
She's not said anything.
Nothing.
Like he even says himself, like since she's come here, she's not stopped kissing my feet. Like I imagine that even when he's speaking to Simon, doing this little parable about 500 denarii or 550, she's still kissing his feet. She's not bothered. For it, Like, and ultimately, she gets exactly what you're saying. She gets exactly what she needs by just being with Jesus,
and she gets sent out in peace. Like, can you imagine? You walk in a sinner and you leave. Not just your sins are forgiven, but now you get to live in peace. Like she's upgraded.
It's incredible, and like ultimately, I've seen this. I'll share this quickly before we finish. But I've seen this. Like even I was in Bible school. I've told this before on the podcast. I was in Bible school and like read this lecture on like pastoral stuff or whatever. And in the middle of the meeting, this lady who's in the class, she was notorious for doing this. It was great. She held her hand and she went, "Can I just sing a song?" So everyone was like, "Yeah, go on then, sing a song." The lecturer's like, "Yeah, sure." So she just started singing like a song, and like everyone just started like singing along with it. And then it just started breaking out. We just started just speaking in tongues and doing all this other stuff as well. But there was no like agenda. There was no one like leading the meeting almost. You know, being like, "Okay, let's pray for this now," whatever else. It just flowed like what was happening, speaking in tongues, and then in the midst of that, my eyesight got healed.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to wear glasses, and like not permanently. I had bad 3D vision. And according to Mum, I had like gammy eyes. Like they weren't round. They were like rugby balls or whatever else.
Gammy eyes.
Like they were.
I can't laugh. I've got glasses on right now.
They were like weirdly shaped eyes and whatever. It affected my 3D vision. When I was reading things, I used to get loads of headaches from doing stuff. But anyway. Like, in the middle of that moment, I didn't ask for it. No one was praying for healing, even in general, never mind eyesight.
Yeah. It wasn't a healing seminar.
It wasn't a healing seminar. It was about pastoral ministry or leadership or something. But ultimately, just in that moment of just spending time with the Lord and just letting him do it, like, my eyesight just got healed. And it was just like a side effect.
Amazing.
And, like, it's that same thing of, like, I didn't even have to say anything. I didn't even have to ask. But ultimately, the Lord is that good that he was just like, do you know what? I'm here now. I may as well just bang your eyesight. And it was amazing. And ultimately, I got exactly what I needed. You know, I didn't really know that I needed it.
You didn't.
I didn't even ask for it. But it just happened anyway. And like same with this woman, she just comes in. She's just like, I don't care about anything else. I'm just going to worship Jesus. And it's going to have this ripple effect on everybody else. And ultimately, she received exactly what she needed in that place and in that time. And it's mad.
Yeah, I love it.
Up to you.
I could keep going, but
time wise.
This could end up being like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Could be.
Even do I think there's a lot to.
There's a lot to
when you start to talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
And particularly because of where he's bringing us, I think it's a very pertinent thing, isn't it? But that's the great thing about the Bible is is wherever you're at, the Bible will speak to you. But how you react to it that's a different story, isn't it?
Yeah, that's solid. I mean, ultimately, I think I don't know. I feel like I should do some like write up on this or something. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe do go for it.
Do like a breakdown of it. So if anybody wants that, let me know and I'll do it. That's all.
Masters is in the works.
Nah. We'll see about that. I mean, you sound like Ezekiel now. We'll see.
Hey, I'm about to get on that recruitment drive too. I'm trying to get everyone on there.
Anyway, but yeah, hope that was.
That was great. I loved it. That was
encouraging.
That was brilliant. Yeah,
it's a good story.
It is a good story. You're correct.
And I encourage everyone to go back, read it over again, and just break it down, just bit by, just break it down event by event. Do you know what I mean? Of everything that was said, the little chunks.
Yeah.
And just start to unpack it. And what does this mean? What does this think? Because it is jam packed.
It is very.
So yeah, but thanks. But anyway, thanks for joining us.
Yes, we've enjoyed having you with us. If you're watching live, and if you're listening or watching after the fact, I hope that you enjoy this. I hope you're blessed by it. If you're challenged by it, that's a good thing. And so just respond to Jesus. That's the best thing that I can say on that. And we'll be back again, same time, same places. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks,
we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.